start the session now this morning, Socialism 2009. My name is Sachs-Eldridge. I work on the Socialist newspaper, and actually we're very proud that our paper is one of the papers who's given a lot of coverage to the situation in Sri Lanka. And over the weekend, at the rally last night and at all the sessions, we're looking at, in so many ways, the horror that capitalism brings to the lives of ordinary people across the world, and particularly when you look at the neo-colonial world, you see that horror in all its horrific glory. And this year, as Senan, the speaker, mentioned last night at the rally, the 30-year-long racist war, as Arundhati Roy describes it here, was brought to a really brutal end, with estimated 20,000 people killed in the last weeks alone, and now 250,000 people, really hard to imagine, are kept in concentration-style camps against their will, forced detention, including children, and so on. So this morning, it's an unbelievably horrific situation. So we want to look at the origins of this situation. British governments and other governments, if you can believe it, have actually congratulated or tacitly congratulated the Sri Lankan government for their success in their war on terror. So we'll look at how we think that the fight can be built to fight for the rights of these people. And the speaker is Senan, who is the international coordinator of the Tamil Solidarity campaign, which was set up this year. And he's also a Socialist Party member, and he's been campaigning for many years and writing about the situation in Sri Lanka as well. And he's going to speak about that. But also, I think Mani's going to come into the discussion to talk a bit about the detail of Tamil Solidarity, what we've done, how we work, and stuff like that. So, Senan's going to introduce the discussion for about 45 minutes, after which we'll take probably questions first. So if people have got questions, please do feel very free to ask anything, because, like I say, we've covered quite a bit in the Socialist newspaper, but in general, there's very little reporting of the situation there. So you may have questions that you just want to know more about, so please feel free, but also we'll take contributions as well, thoughts that people have, experiences and so on. So, introduce Senan.
Thanks, Anna. Comrades, there's a lot of, quite a few people here who already know what's going on, and we're experiencing one time, like Sarah mentioned, it's a national coordinator of the Tamil Solidarity campaign, and like a lot of people here already been active, like Cecile in France, organizing the campaign, and so on. So it is, so people come in on the discussion, and we ask questions and so on as well. And Jim Hensman here is a long history of dealing with this history, and himself part of some of the difficult history of Sri Lanka. What I will do is just to go through briefly of the history, because it's very difficult to explain what happens now without actually going through some part of the Sri Lanka history. And then we'll just go into some of the details, and then we can have a discussion. The Sri Lankan history is a lesson for all. If you look at it, it's a marvelous history for working class movements as well. The attacks against the minorities began as an attempt to struggle for power by the majority singular elite, in fact. And the Buddhist ruling class, Buddhist ruling class, attacked Tamil-speaking Muslims in 1915, and then later on the people in the plantation were also Tamil-speaking, in order to keep themselves trying to come to the power, because the working class organization was quite big at the time. In fact, the LSSP, the Lanka Sama Samaja Party, is the first political party set up. It is the later on it's become a mass Trotskyist movement, and that was the first. The bourgeois class did not have a party at the time. So just to give you an example, how things were developed in Sri Lanka. So the workers' movement began to develop very fast, and it is them who actually demanded independence from the imperial colonial rule. So the I mean, and also from that, now I have to skip quite a lot of history in order to summarize it. But please do ask questions if you think that something is not explained properly or anything of that sort. And also any names like LSSP, UNP, and all those things we might not be immediately register, but do ask the question who are they, and what kind of politics and so on and so forth. So the mass move, the LSSP, the work of LSSP is tremendous, and they organized trade unions in kind of rural areas, poor areas, and the workers' movement started to grow. And as a result, Sri Lanka enjoys a lot of rights for the workers. They won free education, free health service, and free food for students at schools. At one point, about 70% of the economy was nationalized, and including Central Bank and Petroleum Corporation. So that was the victory of the workers' movement at the time, and that's the strengthness of that workers' movement pushed back this the elite group trying to divide the workers in order to come to power, and when they each time when the capitalist class made racist propaganda and sponsored violence against the Tamil-speaking minority, workers come to their aid. If you look at the history, in 1953, for example, there's a marvelous general strike in 1953 where all the section of the Sri Lankan masses participated in it. Tamil, Sinhala, Muslim, plantation workers, everybody participated. It's a great general strike. It was a massive victory. The Prime Minister was forced to resign. They were they took to the sea to actually discuss what to do, and they thought they'd lost the country to the socialists. That was the situation in 1953. Such a huge worry for the bourgeois class. And immediately after that, but what happened then is that they could have actually taken power if they carried on. But the LSSP leadership did not have that ability, the capacity to do that. In 1917, it took a marvelous, the skillful approach that Lenin and Trotsky took to carry through the revolution from the Constituent Assembly. But the LSSP leadership didn't have that. So then the workers are left to pay the price for it. The bourgeois class came back quickly, so they were in a hurry to actually, establish kind of food, strengthness. So in order to actually control the workers, otherwise they are going to lose it again. So they started immediately after that, within 1 year. It's not surprising, after the marvelous general strike, immediately 1 year later they started this massive propaganda against the Tamils. One of the things they started is the language issue. The Tamils spoke, minority Tamils spoke Tamil, and the majority of the masses spoke Sinhala, who lived in the southern part of Sri Lanka. And they said, we will make Sinhala as the only language for the country, which has a major impact among the Tamil community, because just to start with, it's not workable. Even before the Sinhala is made a language of only one language, the day-to-day work in the south were carried out in Sinhala and the north in Tamil, even though the English was the national language, because the poor people spoke either Tamil in the north or in the south Sinhala. So it is not workable as well. But they wanted to use that in order to divide and get rally mass support for them. And this neoliberal party, which trying to accommodate some of the workers' movement as well, called SLFP, came to the fore after this general strike, and they said, elect us, we will implement Sinhala Only Act, which is making the Sinhala language as the only language of the country. At the time,